To truly appreciate the Declaration of Independence, you must travel back in time. America's founding fathers lived in a world where kings ruled by divine right. A time when no country on earth gave its citizens the freedom to speak or worship as they chose. The founders were determined to usher in a new age. And like a lawyer arguing before a jury, they had to make their case to a skeptical world.
The whole purpose of the Declaration of Independence was a propaganda document. Remember, back then, no colony had ever declared its independence from the mother country before. This was a new act. And they needed to get support from other countries like France, some of which had colonies. So you had to justify all this.
To prosecute their case, the founders chose a 34-year-old Virginian and lawyer. As the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson pioneered a new vision of equality between individuals and nations.
These 13 little puny colonies are going to insist on their equality to the mighty empire of Britain or France or Spain. So that has to provoke a question, right? In what sense could they possibly think of themselves as equal? You know, it's clearly not in terms of wealth. It's clearly not in terms of military power. So it's exactly one thing, and that is it's simply that they've acquired the capacity for self-government, to organize their own lives. And they have that capacity in the same way that Britain has it, the same way that France has it. So that capacity for self-government is sort of an on-off switch. You either have it or you don't. Once you have it, you're equal with any other nation organization that has it.
It was a radical step. This former colony would govern itself. But the Declaration went much further, proclaiming that in America, the people rule.
Well, that's not the way anybody thought about it before. If you look at other countries, why does England exist? Why does France exist? They existed because they'd always existed, and the king ruled. And the king's purpose wasn't to establish individual rights of individual people. There was no sense of equality because a king was born a king and nobles were born lords and serfs were born as serfs. And here you have this new notion, a new purpose for a country. This is a ringing document, a noble purpose that forever changed the world.
Think of how the Declaration of Independence begins, when, in the course of human events. We are human beings. History is human. And from all of that, one evolves a new way of giving people control over their lives, their fortunes, their sacred honor, their happiness.
In an astonishing linguistic sleight of hand, Jefferson promoted universal and timeless principles, while at the same time uniting unruly individuals.
We all have this image that somehow the founders were these men who were etched in marble and that they all got along with each other famously. Well, the fact of the matter is that the founders actually really hated each other.
Jefferson's challenge was to bridge personal and regional divides, to cleverly find common ground with flexible language.
The point of democratic politics is that you achieve a decision where some people go along with it for one reason, and other people go along with it for another reason. So consequently, even in our founding documents, there are lots of phrases and ideas that meant different things to different people. The use of pursuit of happiness in the Declaration was an egalitarian idea for somebody like John Adams, who never held slaves, thought slavery was a bad thing. When they wrote life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the Declaration, and did not use the word property, they were keeping out the key term that slaveholders had begun to use in their defense of slavery. So for Adams and other people who thought slavery was a bad thing, pursuit of happiness was putting a stake in the ground for an egalitarian commitment. Clearly, for the Southerners who were defending slavery, pursuit of happiness was compatible with their own desire to keep slavery. So that phrase, its capaciousness, is part of why it worked. It permitted a compromise, but that also means people had very different interpretations of its meaning.
Jefferson then took a third radical step. Not only would the nation be free, not only would each man control their own life and liberty, they would also have the freedom to think and worship as they chose. Freedom of religion. Contrary to popular belief today, there was no religious freedom in the American colonies. The Puritans wanted freedom to practice their religion, not any other.
At the time of the American Revolution, many states had strict limits on religious freedom. There had never been a mass said in the state of Massachusetts because you couldn't be a Catholic in the state. In colonial Massachusetts, they would hang Quakers because it wasn't part of the state church.
In Virginia, heretics were burned at the stake. But all that ended when Jefferson wrote the Virginia Bill of Religious Freedom. His words became a model for the Establishment Clause in the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Jefferson believed that educated, free minds hold the key to human redemption. We have the power to see the truth and remake the world.
Somehow, by using our own reason, that enlightenment power that all of us have, somehow we know this is true. It's not basing it on God. It's not basing it on nature. It's not basing on a grant by a king. No, we as a people, as a rational people, we can see these are self-evident.
Jefferson lived out his final years at his estate in Monticello. At age 83, he was beset by impending bankruptcy, the death of his favorite granddaughter, and his own failing health. Deep in the depths of his suffering, he once again found words to meet the moment. In his very last letter, written days before the 50th anniversary of 1776, he declared a prophetic vision of America's future. May it be to the world the signal of arousing men to burst the chains under which monkish ignorance and superstition had persuaded them to bind themselves, and to assume the blessings and security of self-government, the unbonded exercise of reason and freedom of opinion. All eyes are opening to the rights of man.